So now I'm excited to turn it over to Vicky to get us started. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Olivia. It's really nice to be with everybody, and thank you to the library as well. I'm going to get started tonight with the recipe that I am calling a homemade hummus platter topped with spicy roasted cauliflower. And I'll just mention that the roasted cauliflower, the spicy roasted cauliflower, is actually a recipe that I'm including so that you can add that in if you like. But I made it ahead because it does take about an hour in the oven. So I just thought I'd describe it. It's kind of optional to add on here. In fact, what we'll be building is layers that start with hummus, some vegetables, some items that we can use to dip into the hummus, and topping it with the cauliflower. But you could stop at any point and just have the hummus alone, add just the vegetables, or add the cauliflower. In fact, all of these things are kind of interchangeable. So you could even add something different on top if you had it on hand that you like. So we're going to start with an easy homemade hummus. And of course you can buy it, hummus. There's a million kinds out there. But when you make your own, it's really has a very fresh taste. And because a lot of times there's preservatives or some other kinds of additives that you might not want in it, and you can control the flavor. And that's really fun to be able to kind of mix it up in your own way. More garlic, less garlic, more lemon, and so forth. So it's super easy. Everything goes into a food processor. And so what we're going to put in is 1 can of chickpeas that have been rinsed and drained, 1/3 of a cup of water, tahini, which is basically just ground sesame seeds, and that's going to make it nice and creamy. And then we're going to put in some lemon juice, fresh lemon juice or the equivalent, and then some spices. So I've just got a little bit of salt and pepper and cumin, and we're going to add to that just a dash. And again, all of these are things you can control. If you are eliminating salt or want to control that, you can leave that out. If you don't want the heat from a little dash of cayenne pepper, which I do like, you can leave that out. Now I'm adding just a dash of a Creole or Cajun seasoning, which is also just kind of salt, garlic, and a little bit of chili usually. So again, you can leave that out if you like. I like that, a little bit of zip that it's going to add. And now we are just going to grind this up into a nice creamy texture. So this will take just a moment or two. We'll let it have do its thing, and I'll make just a little bit of noise here. So let's see how that's doing. Quite nice and creamy. In the interest of time, I'm going to stop it now so that we can get this all put together, nicely assembled. But you could definitely keep this going for as long as you want to make sure it's super, super creamy. The more it kind of whips up, the creamier it becomes. And I've been really amazed at how creamy it gets with just these few ingredients. So it's fun to play with. And again, you can kind of change up your flavors any way you want. Add fresh herbs or roasted vegetables, things like that, or just nice and simple like this one is today. So we've just got this platter of, I've got a platter here that I'm going to put this on to show you how I assemble this. And this particular recipe is really nice for serving at a tailgate or just as a kind of an appetizer at a dinner party or to bring to a potluck. It's just nice and simple and makes a very nice presentation. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put all of this onto the platter for this purpose today and spread it out kind of nice and sort of a thin layer as it, we'll spread it out and I'll show you what I mean here. We'll kind of get every little bit that we can. you be more careful than I am here and just make sure you get all of it, because all of this has lovely flavor and you don't want to waste any of it. But we'll set this aside to show you how to assemble. So I'm just taking this mass of hummus and spreading it out almost to the edge. We'll leave just a little bit of an edge so that we can add the items we're going to use to dip, which are somewhat flexible as well. So I've just got it spread like that, kind of like a pancake batter. And to this now, I'm just going to add a little bit of za'atar seasoning. This is optional, but it adds kind of a lovely, kind of lemony, herbal, kind of mixture, a spice mixture that's just really quite lovely and adds a little bit of extra flavor to every bite. And then I'm going to start to just pour on top some fresh, I have actually a yellow or an orange pepper here. And so I'm just going to put this out. My recipe says the red bell pepper, but it can be absolutely any flavor you like, any vegetable you like. Just spreading that out. Some chopped celery as well. It just becomes really pretty very quickly. Some shredded red cabbage. And again, there's no right or wrong about the amount. I'm saying approximately 1/3 of a cup or so of the vegetables, but you can truly add, as much as you like. Pile it up really thickly. And then a little bit of cilantro. And that's optional because, of course, not everyone likes cilantro. But I do, so we'll add that. And now we're going to just add our items that we're dipping. Let me just move that out of the way. So I just sliced some cucumber, and we'll just kind of stick this around the edges to create some nice dippables that people can grab and put in here. You could add carrots or any other kind of raw vegetable that you like. And you can certainly add any kind of and as much as you like, you can add more and more. But I'm also adding to this some Ezekiel chips that I created. I took some Ezekiel tortillas. This is a whole grain, sprouted whole grain tortilla that you can find in the freezer, or any kind of tortilla you like, or of course crackers. But I like this particular brand. And so I took these tortillas and with a scissors, cut them into little triangles and toasted them so that they're now a little bit extra crispy and will hold up nicely to this. And we're just kind of adding these along the platter. And again, depending on how many people you're going to serve, you could make your platter a little bit smaller if you had a smaller group and just wanted to keep in the refrigerator some of your extra hummus. If you knew you had a lot of people that you were going to be, including in this venture, you could certainly double up and add more of the chips and the cucumbers. So here we are at this point, and we're almost done. You could definitely stop right here. But the last item that I'm adding on top is the roasted spicy cauliflower. And it's kind of an inspired by buffalo cauliflower flavors. And what I did was roast some cauliflower in the oven. Takes about an hour altogether, 40 minutes at 400. And then I take this out and mix it up with the seasoning that I have in the recipe, which is just water, tomato paste, onion powder, and smoked paprika. And then I added a little salt and hot sauce, stuck it back into the oven for 10 minutes or more, because if you want it to get kind of really roasty and dark, you can even have it be sitting longer than that. And I actually let it go for probably more like 20 minutes. And so there's kind of no right or wrong. It's sort of up to you. And so I added this to the top now. And so you can kind of make sure that in every dip, you get a little bit of the spicy cauliflower as well. And you could certainly change that to be roasted asparagus or steamed broccoli or any kind of vegetable that you like. But that's my platter of my homemade hummus platter topped with the spicy roasted cauliflower. Michelle?
That looks very good, Vicki. So I am making a dish with fonio. If you haven't heard of it, it is a type of millet. It's a grass. It's very high in like protein, fiber, minerals. Well, not as much fiber. I mean, fiber, it's not as high in protein, but it is very rich in minerals. And it's what got me more interested in it. It's naturally gluten-free. And with all the weather we're having, the planetary health is really on my mind. Fonio is a drought-resistant crop. It uses very little dirt and very little water, so it's can be grown in the places where there isn't much water, which I like. So I'm not going to have time to do all that I wanted to, but how you start this recipe is you can use oil if you want, or you can dry saute or use water or broth, and saute the onions about half of a small white onion, or yellow. I usually prefer when recipes have amounts given, and the quarter cup is about a half of a small onion. So I've got that. So I start with sauteing the onion. I wait a little bit. I like to add garlic in towards the end of it so it doesn't get burned, but it's minced garlic. Let that cook till they're translucent, and then add the spices. This is a curry, so it has a lot of spices that are really high antioxidant, high anti-inflammatory properties, also help with digestion. I've got cumin, coriander, turmeric, salt and pepper, smoked paprika, fenugreek. And a lot of those ingredients are found in most curry powders. So for a shortcut, you could just use a curry powder. And the other thing I like about this is if you use a frozen diced onion or like a dehydrated onion, you don't need anything fresh. You can just have this a pantry meal very easily. So after I have the spices mixed in and cook them till they're fragrant, that's a nice step. You don't have to do it, but it releases the oils of the spices, it makes it more fragrant, adds another layer of flavor, and then put the fonio in. So just like cooking millet or other things, if you saute it for a bit first to toast it, it's going to increase the flavor even more. So then I do that. After that's coated in all the cooked spices, I added 2 cups of broth. I like the Trader Joe's vegetable stock or vegetable broth. It's low sodium, no oil. So that's one of my go-tos. You can use water, a combination, whatever you'd like. This is a very quick meal. Another reason I really like it, because you bring it to a boil after you've mixed everything in like that, and then once it comes to a boil, you just boil it for another minute and let it sit for 5. Another good thing about fonio is 1 cup of it makes 4 cups, so that's quite a lot. Most grains don't give you that much volume, so those are other good things. And so what I did is you let it sit, and then it swells up a bit. And I find that this works a little bit better too, like when it's sits for a bit, I think the flavors meld a little bit more and I think it tastes even better. So, and there's smoked paprika in this. If you want, you could use a hot curry powder instead. I like Vicki was saying, she likes the heat, so do I. This does have a little bite to it, which I like. And then let's move these around a bit. You use as much salt as you want. The recipe calls for 1.5 or how much salt? 1.5 teaspoons. I almost never use the amount of salt that's called for in a dish. I don't like that much salt, but you do what you want. And then but the black pepper is going to help make that turmeric more bioavailable, so it's important to add that. So then I'm going to put on a little bit of cilantro. I like cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, you can definitely use parsley. And then I like to add the pecans. That's a really good idea to toast those. You just put them, if you're just doing a small amount, you just heat them in a stainless steel pan, no oil or anything. Stir them frequently. It's easier to saute them whole. They don't burn as much, but keep stirring them to make sure they don't burn. And then you take them out of the pan, put them on a cutting board, let them cool completely, and then chop them to the size you want. If you have a large amount of nuts to toast, you can do that in the oven at 350. But again, you don't walk away from them because they can burn really easily. And then for a little sweetness, where did I put them? Balance out the flavors, just putting a little bit of raisins on top. So you can use whatever, you can use golden raisins, you could use currants, whatever kind of dried fruit that you prefer, or if you don't want to, you can omit this stuff. And that is the dish. Comes together super fast, and it's nice. Like in this kind of weather in September, you never know if it's going to be broiling hot or freezing cold. So this is a nice thing, or just on busy nights if people are, you know, taking their kids from one practice to another. It's a quick meal to make. So that's it. Back to you, Vicki.
Thank you. Okay, and the next dish I'm making is called Easy Tex-Mex potatoes. And like the one that Michelle was describing, this is a super easy recipe, like kind of a 10-minute recipe, seriously. About 5 minutes to cook yellow Yukon Gold potatoes in the microwave. This is how fast it could be. Certainly you could bake them in the oven, but that's what I did ahead of time, just so that I'd have these ready for this moment. So I have 2 potatoes, Yukon Gold, that I scrubbed, poked so that the steam could escape, and microwave for about 4 to 5 minutes each, actually. I wasn't sure how they would work together, but you can certainly do them together as well. Kind of depends on the size and shape of your potatoes. But now the sauce that we're putting over it as a topping is super, super easy. So I'm taking 1 can of black beans that I have rinsed and drained. And then I'm adding to that about half a cup or more, it's up to you, of frozen corn. I actually cooked this ahead so that I would be able to just assemble this whole thing, even if it's not hot, and just heat it all at once. But you can, you definitely can cook it right here in this pan, in this pot. And then I'm adding to that, you can kind of do this next step to taste, about a half a cup to a cup of salsa, whatever you like. I'm using kind of a medium salsa, and literally that's about it. We're just going to add just a little salt and pepper to taste. And if you wanted to, you could add just a dash of smoked paprika, which I'm going to do because I do like that. And we're just going to heat this up, as we prepare our potato. So I'm just going to put this on high heat real quickly. And now I'm just taking my warm potato and slicing it down the middle, and just with a fork, kind of mashing the inside of the potato to make it soft and ready to put the sauce over. And we have 2 potatoes here. This could be 1 or 2 servings, depending on how much you feel like eating and how much you, or if you're serving anything else with this. But this is a really nice, quick dish: potatoes, beans, corn, and the flavor from the salsa that gets us all ready for a quick meal on a busy night. And if you had potatoes made ahead, you know, in the oven, perhaps where you maybe baked ahead some potatoes, because this can be any kind of potato you like, and had them in the refrigerator, all you'd need to do is put together the sauce, which is just the beans, frozen corn, and salsa with a little seasoning if you choose. And it's just this fast. I'm bringing this to a quick boil. I'd probably give it another minute if we weren't doing this demo live, but it is already warm. And so we'll just put this on top as much as you like, and then you can store the rest of the beans and corn, which look like this, in the pan. Let's see if I can show you like that. Just a little bit, as much as you like of that topping, and then you can refrigerate the rest of this, which be a lovely filling for a tortilla. And then I'm just going to garnish it with a little bit of fresh cilantro, which again, you could leave off if you're not a cilantro fan. But that quickly, you've got dinner. So these are the easy Tex-Mex potatoes. Michelle?
All right, thank you, Vicki. The next thing I'm making is a green goddess gazpacho. It's a recipe by Kaylee Anderson. She is one of my absolute favorite dietitians. She does a lot for women's health. If anyone is expecting or planning to be or trying to be, I really recommend checking her website, Plant-Based Mavens, because she's got just a wealth of information just for women in general. This is a real quick soup. First, I am taking, it all goes into the high-speed blender. Its base is avocado, and some people might be concerned that avocado is too high in fat. I do work for the Plant-Based Prevention of Disease. We put on continuing medical conferences. We have Dr. Freeman. We've had him a few times. He's excellent, but he did a study this summer. He gave a presentation where he talked about the avocado study, where they did a low-fat diet, a diet where people had an entire avocado, a Hass avocado a day, and then a moderate diet. And the avocado diet lowered cholesterol more than the other two diets. It lowered it, and the size, the small density, which is the more dangerous particle size. So, they're pretty calorie rich, but they're very powerful. They're really good for us. So I'm not trying to talk you into something if you're, you don't want to have the fat, but there's a lot of benefit to it. So I'm just going to put in, I've got one avocado. So easily. It's avocado and then fresh herbs, dill, either it calls for cilantro, but again, if you don't like cilantro, you can always use parsley and dill. It says to remove the stems, but it's going into a Vitamix, and the stems have all the nutrients that the leaves do, so I just keep those on. For interest of time, though, I did take them off the basil. I've got the juice of 1 lemon or limes. I just am using a lime in this one. Usually that's about 2 tablespoons for a lime, but this one had closer to 3. 2 cucumbers, peeled and chopped up, and you can use a little bit more just to kind of decrease the calorie density of the soup. So I'm going to put all of this in. I've got the lemon or lime, salt, pepper. I've got the cilantro, garlic, jalapeno. You can leave the seeds, and if you want to, you can leave those in. And it's just all going to go in. I'm going to try not to spill. Take this off here. Also goes together really quickly. And I've got all the herbs. It smells so good. I love the smell of basil. Garlic. I usually put a little bit, I like use less salt all the time and more garlic. I've got salt and pepper. And the jalapeno. I left a couple seeds in, just because I do like a little heat. I'm gonna make some noise. Of course, this, do you want to test, give it a taste and see if it needs any more seasoning? Smells so good, and I love this color green. It's vibrant. And then you can top it with like saving some of the cucumber and the avocado. A few pieces out. You can put croutons on if you'd like. Some of the herbs. Something. You could put a little bit of all the herbs. I'm just putting the cilantro and the dill. Another quick meal for you, if you can see that. Super fast. So Vicki and I are getting you food on the table in a hurry tonight.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Here, let me spotlight Vicki as well so everyone can see both of you. Everything you made looks so delicious, as always. And I love you showcasing these super easy recipes. I feel like I've talked to so many people who are really intimidating by eating more plant-based foods because they think, oh, it's going to be way too much work to, cook from the whole raw foods. And it's just, I love you guys showcasing people that does not have to be the case in such a variety of different delicious recipes. Okay. All right, let me see. So Michelle, the first question someone had was about the fonio. They said, where can you buy the fonio grain? They said they're definitely going to try it. Love that it multiplies so much, doesn't need as much water to grow, and is nutrition dense.
Yes, I do too, especially the weather's been so scary lately that I really trying to do, eating this way is really good for the environment, but just trying to up it a little bit. I got mine at Whole Foods, but they have it at Amazon. I just do a Google search and see if it's at the places where you shop. It's a very small seed. It's very, very small. So
Yeah, can you show us what it looks like?
Yeah, this is the kind I got.
Okay. And you said it's a type of millet?
Yeah, it's in the millet. It's related to millet, and it's a grass. But it's like quinoa is a seed, but it's considered a grain. This would fall under the grain category.
Sure.
So, and it cooked up so fast and you don't have to do all the steps that I said. They add more flavor, but if you're in a hurry, you could just throw it all in the pot together.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to try it as well.
Yeah.
I'll let you know what I think.
Okay.
And use the okay, let me see.
I say that if you're not going to do all the steps that I would probably use the dehydrated onion, not the raw, just to.
Okay. Let me see. Someone asked, what is your favorite food processor to use? What do you guys use? I know, Michelle, you used a blender, but if you could talk about just some of your different machines.
Well, I'm biased because my mom used to work for Cuisinart. She did cooking demos. It's amazing. I think how I follow in her footsteps. And then I was an assistant for Cuisinart too. So I've always been a Cuisinart person. There are other good brands, but that's just what I've always used.
Okay. Vicki?
I've used Cuisinart as well for many years and have had more than one over the years, but I'm actually right now using a Breville that I got maybe 3 years ago, and I'm really enjoying it. So it feels a little bit more powerful to me than the Cuisinart I used to have. So I'm really happy with it.
Right, very nice. Okay, someone just asked, what are your favorite breakfast dishes? Do you guys have any go-to breakfast dishes? Maybe something nice and easy for people to stay with the theme?
Vicki,
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
I was saying, Vicki, are you going to go first? So go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I have a few go-tos that, because I like breakfast to be easy unless it's kind of a special, time where I'm making something a little more elaborate. But that's kind of a theme, I think, with Michelle as well. not just tonight, but in general for both of us, we try to just have things that are super easy because that makes it extremely doable. So for breakfast, I often will have an Ezekiel muffin with leftovers on it. It might be steamed vegetables and maybe a sliced potato all warmed up. Or sometimes I'll want something on the sweeter side, and so I'll have overnight oats. And so I've demonstrated this, and so has Michelle over, you know, a variety of times that we've had a chance to do these demos for VegMichigan. But just putting into a jar oats with a little bit of non-dairy milk and some fresh fruit or frozen fruit and a handful of nuts and or not, and or, you know, raisins or dates or not, or any kind of dried fruit you like, and just, you know, some cinnamon or apple pie spice, and just stick a couple of those jars in the refrigerator for the week, and it just makes it extremely easy. And another go-to is just avocado toast, just putting avocado again on a whole grain toast that with a little bit of, you know, hot sauce or curry. Those are the easy things I go to day after day.
For me, I love my smoothies. Life's been pretty hectic for quite a while now, so I'll batch I love my little mason jar, so does Vicky, and I'll put my little, because I put cacao, amla. It's really good for, I've got the familial hypercholesterol, high cholesterol, and so I like to put in the things that are good for lowering cholesterol, like acai powder. And I've got pomegranate. I put, I said, the cacao, that's very good for your heart. And then wild blueberries. I've been putting strawberries in because those are also very good for your heart. And bananas, spinach. Sometimes if I have fresh strawberries, Whole Foods was having strawberries on sale for a really long time. So I was getting them, and I cut the tops of the strawberries off, and then I put the tops into my smoothie because those have the greens. So that it's got all that good, the benefit. So I'll put that. I think I mentioned everything, and chia seeds, good omega-3s in there. So that's my most regular breakfast. Sometimes I have a lot of allergies, so sometimes I will cook short grain wild rice because I can't have oats or wheat, and I will cook that and have that cold with, you know, chopped up fruit. Sometimes, like this time of year, be more like apples and cinnamon with some flax meal, and or I might use clementines or peaches, you know, whatever I have, and that's one of my others. And then, you know, for a little more time, I love the tofu scramble with air fried potatoes. Those are my big ones.
Awesome. Those all sound delicious. That's a great idea to use the strawberry greens in your smoothie, Michelle. I'm going to start doing that. I always feel like I'm not sure what to do with them and generally end up just composting them, but that sounds better. Cool.
I'm trying hard not to throw out as much either. So we do throw out a lot of parts of the food that can be eaten.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes you just need someone to be like, here's an idea. And you're like, oh, I never thought of that before. Now I know to use my strawberry greens. That's awesome. Okay, someone asked, what is the best way to toast tortillas? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, but any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go with that one. And Michelle may have another answer, but I think that as with many questions, there's more than one way of doing things. And so when I am making these little chips like I did tonight with this dip, I am literally just taking frozen tortillas out of the freezer, cutting them with a scissors and putting them on the top shelf of my toaster oven. But if I had a lot of them, I could definitely put them into the oven and, you know, roast them, toast them that way, bake basically, or you can actually just put it into a dry skillet and flip it after, you know, 30 seconds or something on medium to high heat or whatever is right for your stove and pan. So yeah, basically any way that works for you, and you can test out a couple of different versions, similar probably to toasting nuts, as Michelle was describing as well. You can do that a couple of different ways. So the idea of this is really, in many cases, just whatever is most convenient for you, which equipment you have, which is available, not being used in another manner to bake or cook or toast something else. And it's just kind of whatever's handy.
And the only one I'd add to that, because I agree with all the things that Vicky said, is if you have a gas stove, you can just kind of flip it over the open flame carefully, and that's definitely not something you walk away from, but that's a way just to, because some of the gluten-free tortillas, I'll say all the gluten-free tortillas need to be heated up because they crack and split. So that's just a way to warm them up a bit and make them more pliable.
Awesome. Okay, someone asked, is fonio gluten-free?
Oh, yes, it is. That's
Yes, awesome. Okay.
You're on the, yep, cooks in 5 minutes, gluten-free, right there at the bottom.
Awesome. Nanette said, tell me about the cookbook featured. I would assume she's talking about your cookbook, Vicky?
Yeah.
Do you want to, could you showcase it just real quick?
Sure, absolutely. It's called the Plant-Based for Life Cookbook, and the subtitle is Deliciously Simple Recipes That Nourish, Comfort, Energize, and Renew. And this is my cookbook of over 100 recipes. And each of the recipes has a full color. Let's see if I can get a little closer and show you. Each of the recipes has a full color photo, a full page, I should say. And there's a section in the beginning of a number of recipes for breakfast, including, as an example here, we'll show an overnight oats. Let me get to that. My overnight oats, this is blueberries and peaches frozen and just, you know, kind of defrosting and having those juices drain right down into the oats down there with some cinnamon and almond milk or whatever you like. And I've got a green smoothie in here and pancakes and potato dishes and lots of things like that. Soups and salads and pastas and desserts, getting all the way back to here. So yeah, so thanks for asking. I've got over 100 recipes in here, and it's available either through my website, which is AnnArborVeganKitchen.com, or through Amazon.
Awesome. Thanks, Vicky. Love all the photos. Some cookbooks just don't have enough photos, and I feel like it's very important. Yours looks awesome.
Typically, I don't buy a cookbook if it doesn't have the photos because I want to see it. I just
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know what this is supposed to look like. So
more
that's great.
appetizing to me. It makes me more like I want to make it more when I can see what it looks like.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, we eat with our eyes, someone said in the comments. Absolutely true. Okay, let me see. And I did put for anyone who missed it, I did put the full title of the cookbook in the chat. So if anyone wants to look that up. And I also reshared Vicky's website link, which is AnnArborVeganKitchen.com. Okay, we have 5 minutes for just a couple more questions. Let me see. Someone said, why did you dehydrate the onion? I've heard dehydrating food reduces the nutrients.
Oh, are you
Any thoughts on that? Yeah, I think that's for you, Michelle, asking why
I didn't dehydrate the onions. I'm saying if you're, you know, for a shortcut that you might want to use, like you can use a garlic powder and a minced dehydrated onion. I don't
okay.
There's so much about dehydrating now. It's so popular. I don't think, I'm not concerned about nutrient loss. I don't know where that source is. I'd be interested in it, but I think like when you look at, especially if you're going to look at what's the other option, like if you can use dehydrated onions, just the minced dried onions, and that makes you make a whole food plant-based meal, or you're going to go out and grab fast food because you don't have time, definitely a better choice to use the dried onions. So I think that's another factor to consider.
Absolutely. Okay, someone said, do either of you have opinions about the use of cast iron pans? With some doctors citing the health benefits of using little to no oil is the use and care of cast iron pans with oil is something to be avoided or mindful of. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, like I said, I work for the Plant-Based Prevention of Disease, and we have a lot of incredible plant-based dietitians that speak at our conferences. And coming up the end of this month, we're doing one virtually and in person in Newark, and we have 3 fantastic dietitians, and they do advocate cooking and cast iron. So people you can go with what you think is best, but to increase your iron intake in a day, they do recommend that. But not everybody does. So I'm not saying what you should do. That's just one opinion. one argument, I guess.
Do you have any additional thoughts, Vicky, or?
I actually don't cook in cast iron, so I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I choose not to.
All right.
They're heavy.
Oh, sorry, what?
So they're heavy. My mom had a ton of them. They can get a workout picking some of them up.
True. Okay. For you, Vicky, someone said, can you use a sweet potato for the Tex-Mex potato recipe?
Absolutely, and that's a great idea, and I've done that before. And that's a really simple way to have some additional nutrients that come from the, the beta carotene in your sweet potato. So absolutely, that's a great swap. And think of all of these ingredients that I've used tonight as a template for kind of subbing out anything that you prefer, any flavor, any vegetable, and and certainly those potatoes. That's a great idea.
Awesome. Okay, just the very last question we have time for. Someone was wondering what the best way to dry herbs from the garden. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you guys dry your own herbs at all?
I don't dry my own. I just have.
I don't dry them either. I do grow basil, and when I have an excess, I just freeze it, and then I just pull it out frozen and chop it up and put it into the dish that I'm preparing. So I'm not the right source for that question.
Neither am I, sorry.
All right, yeah, no worries, but that's a great tip for herbs and many other greens that they're easy to be frozen. So that's another option for preserving them and prolonging their lifespan. Awesome. Okay, someone said I have dried them at 250 in an oven before. So there are options, dehydrator. But yeah, a couple different ways to preserve your herbs and other greens.